Is there a motion to terminate Keith Freeman?
Deep debt, and that is the finding of an investigation of village finances and the spending habits of beleaguered Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
It looks like Tiffany Henyard's reign as the so-called super mayor might be nearing its end, and let us tell you, she is terrified. According to multiple insiders, whispers are growing louder that an arrest warrant could be issued for her any day now. Yes, you heard that right. Tiffany Henyard might be facing handcuffs in a courtroom sooner than she thought. The FBI is closing in on her, and the days of flying under the radar with her outrageous spending and sketchy moves are pretty much over.
Coming in, I mean, unfortunately, we knew it was going to be a little messy, but it's just something we felt important that had to be done, that should be done. So, but like I said, you have just some accountability.
Let's get into it. Henyard, the mayor of Dolton and supervisor of Thornton Township, has been in hot water for a while now, but this time things are looking real bad. She's been under federal investigation for months, and now insiders are saying that an actual warrant for her arrest is on the horizon. Can you imagine the panic she must be feeling right now? Word on the street is that she's been meeting with her lawyers constantly trying to figure out some kind of miracle to avoid jail time. But it's looking like she might be running out of options. If the rumors are true, she could be facing serious consequences for her actions like time behind bars. And honestly, it's not even that shocking, considering the long list of scandals and accusations that have followed her since she took office.
Who would make a one-day purchase of over $40,000 to Amazon? And the main thing is, what is it?
Let's break it down. Henyard is no stranger to controversy. Since she became mayor in 2020-21, it's been one mess after another, with corruption and misuse of taxpayer money being at the center of it all. And now, the feds are involved, which means things just got real serious. From first-class trips to extravagant parties that cost tens of thousands of taxpayer money, to using the police department like her own personal security team, Henyard has been living the high life at the expense of the people she's supposed to serve. People are talking about jail time, fines, and the possibility of her being banned from holding public office ever again. It's safe to say that her political career might be finished.
I'm sure you guys had an awesome time on the backs of taxpayers, but what do we gain from any of these trips? We gain nothing.
Sources close to the investigation are saying that Henyard could be arrested as early as tomorrow or in the next few days. The FBI is apparently wrapping up their investigation into her alleged misuse of funds and other crimes, and it's not looking good for her. According to reports, Henyard has been accused of draining Dolton's budget and running up credit card bills like there's no tomorrow. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who was hired to investigate Dolton's financial costs, found out that the town's general fund went from a surplus of over $5 million to a deficit of $3 million in just 2 years. That's right, Henyard allegedly blew through over $8 million in public funds. And if that wasn't enough, she's accused of racking up credit card bills on luxury items and spending over $40,000 in one day on Amazon. Can you imagine spending that kind of money in a single day? It's like she forgot she's running a town and not shopping for a personal mansion.
What I think is interesting about this case, this story, is you can be highly legal and unethical at the same time.
But Henyard didn't stop there. Oh no, she's got a long list of questionable moves. For starters, she flew in R&B singer Keek Wyatt and rapper Jay Holiday for a township event that nobody asked for and barely anyone showed up to. The event cost over $80,000, all paid for by taxpayers. And if you think that's bad, she also spent thousands on inflatable bounce houses and comedians for the adventure. That's right, comedians. All this while Dolton is drowning in debt and can barely pay for basic services like street repairs and police salaries.
We needed those officers to be on the street fighting crime. And instead, we have several officers that are riding around protecting America.
Now, here's where it gets even juicier. As all this drama is unfolding, Henyard is out there on social media, smiling and calling herself the super mayor as if nothing is wrong. She even had the audacity to defend her wild spending by saying it was all for the babies. Really? That's her excuse for blowing taxpayer money on a flop of an event? It's honestly mind-blowing how she can say that with a straight face.
I am about to address some things as the supervisor. There will be no comments, there will be anything. It'll just be me addressing you guys to tell you what's going on.
And let's not forget the FBI is investigating more than just her reckless spending. There are rumors that she's been using the police department for her own personal protection and even sending officers to run personal errands for her. You heard that right, police officers who should be protecting the public were allegedly chauffeuring Henyard around like she's some kind of celebrity. And the crazy part, they were racking up thousands of overtime hours while doing it. One officer reportedly made over $100,000 just in overtime. All this while the village can't even afford to fix its streets.
But it saddens my heart that you are up here at this special meeting and not downstairs where we have big bingo.
Even though she's under federal investigation and facing an arrest, Henyard just keeps digging herself deeper. Instead of owning up to her mistakes or showing any kind of remorse, she's doubling down. Reports are saying she's still spending taxpayer money like it's monopoly money. Just recently, she spent tens of thousands of village funds on another luxury trip. She took her entourage to Austin, Texas, where they stayed at the Fairmont Hotel and dined at high-end restaurants. And guess who's footing the bill? You guessed it, Dolton residents.
I think you should pay everybody. Is it a reason why you guys are not paying whatever that vendor is.
What was it for?
It was for shirts. That's what it's for. You do that.
What's even crazier is that Henyard hasn't just been careless with the village's finances, she's actively undermined the people around her. Insiders have said that Henyard recently tried to rehire Deputy Chief Louis Lacey, a longtime ally of hers who was placed on leave after being hit with bankruptcy fraud charges. Lacey allegedly continued to show up for work after being dismissed, defying the village trustees who voted to fire him. This chaotic back and forth between Henyard and the board has made it clear that she'll go to any lengths to protect her inner circle, even if it means breaking the rules or ignoring the law. Lacey's reappearance is just another sign of how Henyard's leadership has spiraled completely out of control. And while Henyard might still be clinging to power, it seems like she's running out of supporters. Her constant battles with the board and former allies like Keith Freeman, who was once her top aide, are only making her look worse. Freeman, who was also charged with bankruptcy fraud, has now turned against Henyard and is reportedly cooperating with the investigation into her shady fudge dealings. It's becoming clear that Henyard has very few people left in her corner. The question is, how long can she keep pretending that everything is fine before even her closest allies desert her for good?
Mr. Lacey is absolutely not guilty of all 9 counts. I believe he's cooperating. And if you cooperate, you have to admit your guilt first.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Even with all the noise around her, she's still somehow holding onto her job. That's right, she's still the mayor and township supervisor. And people are outraged. Take a look at what some folks are saying in the comments. Henyard time is running out, one person wrote. It's true, with the FBI breathing down her neck and her own town in financial ruins. How long can she really last? Another comment asked the question on everyone's mind, how does she still have her job? Honestly, it's a mystery. You'd think by now she'd be out of office, but it seems like she's clinging onto power with everything she's got. It's almost like she's in complete denial of the storm that's coming her way. Henyard might be laughing and posting on social media now, but if these insider reports are true, she could be in handcuffs soon. And let's not forget, once the FBI gets involved, things usually don't end well for the person being investigated. It's one thing for local authorities to poke around your finances, but when the federal government gets involved, you know it's serious. And speaking of serious, Henyard could be facing years in prison if convicted. Depending on the charges, she could be looking at up to 20 years behind bars. Let that sink in for a moment. This woman went from being a rising star in local politics, the first female mayor of Dolton, to potentially spending the next couple of decades in federal prison. Talk about a fall from grace. And to think it's all because she couldn't stop spending money she didn't have.
Hey guys, it's the Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the People's Mayor and People's Supervisor.
But is there any way out for Henyard? Some insiders are saying she might try to cut a deal with the feds, hoping to avoid jail time. Maybe she'll throw someone else under the bus? Or maybe she'll try to pay back the money she allegedly stole. But even if she avoids prison, her political career is basically over. Who's going to trust her after all this? The people of Dolton certainly aren't going to forget anytime soon. They're still dealing with the consequences of her reckless spending, and they're furious. It's a classic case of someone who let power go to their head. Henyard thought she could get away with anything spending taxpayer money, using the police department for her personal security, ignoring her town's financial collapse, and now it's all catching up with her. It's almost like she thought she was untouchable. But as we've seen time and time again, no one is above the law.
Sometimes we get invoices, but those invoices lead to more questions, and sometimes we don't get answers to those questions. And so it's not about clickbait, it's about just making sure the right thing is.
Now, as Henyard sits down with her team of lawyers, probably trying to figure out a last-ditch effort to save herself, you have to wonder, is she finally realizing that it's all over? The town is in shambles, the FBI is closing in, and even some of her own allies have turned against her. Remember when one of her former assistants, now a township trustee, publicly said she'd had enough? Carmen Carlisle, a one-time supporter of Henyard, broke her silence and exposed what she called Henyard's unethical and predatory behavior. That's right, even people who were once close to Henyard are distancing themselves from her, likely sensing the ship is sinking fast. At the end of the day, this whole saga is a lesson in what happens when power is abused. Henyard had a chance to be a leader, to actually make a difference for the people who put her in office. But instead, she chose to line her pockets and live large while Dolton fell apart around her. And now, she's paying the price. So the big question is, how will this all end for Tiffany Henyard? Will she try to make a deal with the feds and avoid prison? Or is she headed straight for cell? And even more interesting, what does this mean for the people of Dolton? Will they finally get the justice they deserve? Or is there more drama to come? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Stay tuned.